Hi guys, my name is Thaon Simms and welcome to the Limitless podcast. Joining us as always is your co-host, Dr. Matthew Preston. Hail up the people, Matthew.
Hey guys, what's good?
Perfect. And today, you guys have seen the title, the thumbnail. It's been in the news articles and so on. Something is coming. Something exciting is coming. And we've been seeing a lot of articles about a company called West Indies Petroleum. Right now,
Or West Indies
we're just
Energy.
West Indies Petroleum Energy, or we'll talk about both. We can talk about both companies, because there is West Indies Petroleum Limited and West Indies Petroleum Energy, right? But the entity that plans to list is West Indies Petroleum Energy, so that's our focus because we only really want to focus on stocks that would be listed. But yeah, Preston, what do you think about this company?
Well, I mean, we don't have like a prospectus yet, as much as the
Excellent.
article seems to say certain stuff that, yeah, it's very prospectusy. Well, I guess we'll have to confirm, I guess, when the official prospectus comes out. I mean, I think we were talking about it like, let me see, it's early 2025 now. And I think even like late, like Q4 2024 or even late Q3, I think we were talking about it in a group because I was thinking that they were going to list because before I started seeing the articles when they said, oh, they may list, because I started like seeing ads. Like I was just one day watching like a YouTube video and I just see an ad for it. And I was like, that's, I don't know, I guess the kind of business that they are. And you know how like YouTube, you can kind of select who YouTube, I think when you're like an advertiser, I think they allow you to like select certain demographics of people, so you can kind of customize who you're sending it to, so that you're sending it to the people that you would be like a customer. You don't just want to be showing it necessarily to everybody. And so I was like, why would they be showing me this? Like that don't really necessarily make sense. And there was no mention of listening and stuff. So I was seeing like the sensitization started to happen. So when I started seeing the official article saying that, I was like, yeah, wow, you can sometimes, I guess, look for stuff like that.
Yeah, Randy would call that a dot. But yeah, I said them too, and there were Gleaner articles even up to last year about them.
From
I guess
even
early last year, and
Yeah.
you're right, we don't have a prospectus, so we can't. This is clearly not a tickers episode where we go into in depth on the company and so on. But there are quite a few things that have been out, so we just felt like we should talk about it because this IPO is coming. And it's gonna be huge, as they said. They said this might be the second largest listing on the Jamaica Stock Exchange, second to TransJamaica Highway. I think they're looking to raise 12.8 billion Jamaican, and TransJam was 14 billion Jamaican. So
not
this
that
would
far
be
off then.
Yeah, not far off at all. Well, far off for me because a billion is a lot of money, but yeah, not too far off.
Percentage wise.
Exactly. But you're right, you can tell the telltale signs of a company wanting to list, and boy, it's the next big stock to watch. That's what I believe. So yeah, so we can bring up the article because a lot of what we're gonna be talking about is from one article, but there are several articles. There are even things I'm pretty sure a lot of people have even overlooked. But West Indies Petroleum Energy Limited, right? It's the parent company is actually West Indies Petroleum Limited. So I'll call it WIP. I feel like it might be easier just to say that, or WIP, but let's not do that. So probably WIP. So WIP is the parent company. They actually spun off that company, the energy company, late last year, I believe. But what they do is I remember they were established way back in 2012 or 2013, and they were a bunkering company. And what that does is they basically supply fuel for ships, right? So that's one of the core operations of that company. So they used to just supply fuel for a lot of large ships that would visit Jamaica and so on. In my head, when I think of that, I think of tourism. You know, there are obviously other ships that come in, but with that tourism boom, I would always watch the amount of ships that are coming in, cruise lines coming in, and so on. They also store and distribute a ton of petroleum products as well. Have huge storage facilities, and yeah, they also expanded after a while into land-based fuel distribution and regional markets. So that's another thing that they've been doing. And then they actually have a partnership. They built an infrastructure, sorry, including the acquisition of a 600,000 barrel terminal at Port Esquivel. Esquivel. I hope I didn't butcher the name. From Broilers, from Jamaica Broilers, actually, in 2016.
Oh wow.
Yeah, to become, just huge energy company. So it's actually it's a pretty large, structure. You can actually see it on Google. Those huge, I don't know what they are. I'm not really big into fuel, but I'm learning as I look through like these articles and learn about the company and so on. And yeah, so the main thing I know they do, and a lot of the stuff they do is bunkering, right? So they supply a lot of fuel to a bunch of maritime vessels in Jamaican waters. It's 24/7 service, right? And they have an extensive storage infrastructure because you kind of have to store all of that fuel somewhere because you're importing this fuel, right? You procure this fuel, right? You have to store it if you're a huge supplier to everybody. And then you have not just the bunkering, which is the sea-based services, but you have land-based services as well. So I saw that they actually supply 30% of the retail petroleum in Jamaica to, yeah, I think it's about 30%. That's a decent chunk. I did not know that. Yeah. Yeah, it's about 30%, and that's quite a bit because when you mention retail, you're thinking like a Fesco, and I think they said it like they supply Fesco, they supply a lot of these other I guess B2C distributors. That's how I see it in my head. Yeah. So they supply a lot of the retail petroleum. They work with a lot of independent gas stations as well. I think they said about 80% in that article. 80% of the independent, the locally owned,
Just the
basically there's
smaller gas
locally owned
stations
network.
they supply.
Yeah. And so recently they actually expanded into commercial fuel distribution and, servicing businesses like logistic fleets, those kind of stuff. So when I think of, they actually said it in the article, they specified commercial
Which
and I
one?
believe retail. So energy itself.
No,
So this,
which article? The December one or the January one?
I don't remember, one of them.
Okay.
One of them. I think it's both actually. But there's also there's one from even February 2024, but I think it's the December one. But yeah. So I had to kind of dig because a lot of the things, and I mean every time we're analyzing stocks, a lot of this industry is not really known to like me, because I don't know. I'm not in fuel, so it just takes some reading and takes some time to just kind of digest a lot of the information and so on. Even learning, what a bunkering company does and so on. But I wanted to know, like, imagine you're a company like this, right? What would the steps be to supply? Like, I wanted to know, all right, if I'm West Indies Petroleum Limited, right, or Energy, sorry, how am I going to supply Fesco gas? So there's like a whole regulatory framework with that, like licensing, compliance, all of that kind of stuff. Then you have to actually get the fuel. So you have to procure the fuel from like, refineries and like wholesalers and so on. And you have to get that through contracts. And that's critical.
You have to import it.
Yeah.
You likely have to import it.
Have to import it because we don't produce oil. unless we have like refineries and so on. But we don't, we don't have those oil reserves here and so on. So we do import it. But I realize with the contracts, that contracts thing is actually crucial because oil prices around the world fluctuate. So you have to be able to get what they call almost like futures or forward contracts. Basically, you'll be buying fuel for at a certain price for X amount of time, right? And you'll have to be able to negotiate that because the amount of money you really and truly make is if you can, get this fuel at a decent price. So you have to be monitoring like global oil prices, and then you have to manage like shipping costs, because if shipping costs go up, you're gonna have to spend a lot of money to get that fuel here, right? And then you have to, forecast, favorable supply agreements, those kind of stuff, and you have to make sure the fuel is good in terms of quality. So I know there's a lot that goes into this.
No bad gas.
Yeah, right. You remember those days? I remember my friend's engine just went with that. I don't know what happened. I'm not really a car guy, but yeah, I remember the bad gas days, bro. Did people ever get sued for that?
I'm not sure.
Yeah. But after you actually procure the fuel, you have to store it, right? So you have to build out the infrastructure. And as I said, they have this huge infrastructure in terms of for storage and so on. And, you have to deal with like inventory management and so on. And then you distribute, right? So you have the whole logistics and distribution. You need a transportation network because they transport the fuel from their storage to ships. So, that includes you need
trucks.
Exactly. You need not just fuel trucks, you need, tankers, barges, you need ships to be able to transport that as well. And so on. So, and then you need partnerships too, because it's not even just like you need to figure out who am I gonna build these relationships with in terms of like retailers. So you have to establish those contracts with like gas stations, independent retailers, cruise lines, those kind of stuff. Those kind of customers. So there's so much that goes into it. Sales, pricing, customer service, all of those kind of things. And then them even wanting to expand. So, which we'll touch on a bit later. But, it takes a lot to just this industry. It just takes a lot. And it's some of them are fine margins. And, with global oil prices jumping up and down like a trampoline, it can get a bit tricky. So yeah, I'd love to have the CEO on actually. I think his name is Charles Chambers. I'd love to have him on the podcast to just like pick his brain about that, like what the industry is like, how they plan to expand, that kind of stuff, because they're not just in Jamaica, they're in the Caribbean, Latin America. So yeah. Yeah, they distribute to. I saw a YouTube video, bro. I don't know if you saw it. It was from TVJ News where he was actually on, and he said they distribute to Haiti, Damrep, even as far as Guyana. That's kind of crazy still. But yeah,
that's WIP
WIP.
Energy.
No, that's WIP Limited. So, all right. So the spin-off, from what I understand, was to streamline operations for WIP Energy, right? So Energy is now dedicated to more retail and commercial fuel distribution, whereas the parent company does other things too. So they're more WIP Energy, which would be the brand that's the company that's listing. That's more
possibly listing.
Yes. Yeah, true. Yeah, they wouldn't be the ones doing that. Yeah, they wouldn't be the ones doing that at all. So I tried to figure out like retail distribution is more, end-to-end consumers, right? Through like gas stations and stuff like that. So that's how it's like, I think of it as B2C, whereas commercial is more B2B. So it's more bulk fuel for commercial fuel distribution to like businesses, organizations, and the need is for like, industrial plants and transportation purposes, those kind of stuff. So they have a much larger it's larger companies that they're dealing with, maybe even like government agencies, right? And it's, as I said, bulk fuel. So yeah.
I was thinking maybe like a JUTC, but I know that they're switching out some of the buses now with like electric or was it LNG buses and stuff like that. Or maybe before, when they used to use a lot of like gasoline and stuff like that, instead of them having to drive the JTC bus to a gas station to that, they just buy in bulk from a company like maybe a WIP Energy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, what we can do is probably get into some of the things that the most recent article at the time that we are recording.
Mm-hmm.
This was an Observer article written by Dashan Hendricks, titled "The WIP Energy Plans a $80 million US IPO." Technically, not all of that would be IPO though, but and so it was saying that the funds that you mentioned, that it would essentially be the second largest listings if they were able to raise that money on the Jamaica Stock Exchange, and they're apparently already looking. I guess they're like sensitizing certain investors, and so that I guess they are trying to secure some of the money from before, I guess. Because they're like, hey, we'd want some of this offer. We want you to, are you interested in buying in before it comes out, I guess? Or no, I guess they're buying when it comes out, but they're letting them know, I guess, from before that, hey, this is the offer.
You mean
we have maybe like a pension or something?
You're hoping they're buying from before. Meaning, because based on the article, you'd assume that, you're buying not before. Sorry, you mean when the IPO is out, when the prospectus is out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But my only issue with things like that, and they said it is about what 3%.
Mm-hmm.
That they're looking at. So beside the securing anchor investors, that anchor investors tells you it's more like, as you said, mutual funds, pension funds, private equity firms, those kind of stuff. But they want them to just purchase at least a 3% stake. That's valued at 2.4 million US. So that would be good.
Yeah, no, even the interesting part was like when they started, like when I was reading the article, I was like, okay, this is what like a usual article would say. But then when they started going in, they're telling me the price. I don't know. I mean, I guess we haven't had as many IPOs in the past, but like since I've been investing, I don't think they started like price data like this. I mean, we don't know, I guess, if it's right, because you'll have to wait for the prospectus. But like they're going in, they're saying, okay, it'll be 1 US cent per share or $1.60 per share. They're telling the number of shares, 8 billion shares. They're going into how much the selling shareholders will be selling. They're telling you who the brokers will be. Apparently, the main brokers are JMD and Barita. Like these are usually stuff you'd have to wait for like the prospectus. I don't know if you had mentioned before, like the Thrifty gas station, which is essentially the gas station brand that WIP Energy owns.
I love how we're just calling it WIP Energy now. But yeah, let's keep that trajectory still, because that's probably gonna be the ticker.
What do you think? WIP? I mean, is that or WIP? They would have the WIP. Probably the WIP. Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe.
What do you think?
Because I mean, there's already energy. If they did WIP.
Because I mean, there's already energy listed. So I feel like they probably would just do WIP.
We'll see.
Yeah. So what do you think they'd do?
I mean, it's just a subsidiary. If they plan to list and spin off other subsidiaries and then listing them, I don't think.
I mean, list the owner. You mean list the main company, the West Indies Petroleum?
I don't know if they'd list the main company. I feel like the main company is gonna be just eventually when they take some of the operations that the main company does, they'd probably spin that into another company as well, and maybe just call that something else, and then the main company could be a holding company, and they probably just wouldn't list it. Who knows?
So what do you think they would set the ticker as for this one then?
WIP. It's probably gonna be WIP, bro.
Nah, I don't think
WIP
they'll do
the
that.
competition. Oh wait, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
Because they
Okay.
in other articles, the parent company is actually known as WIPL, West Indies Petroleum Limited. So who knows? Maybe. Maybe.
Yeah, and yeah, they even gave some. They gave some interesting. So I think you mentioned that. Okay, they sell 30% of the retail gas or automated petroleum in Jamaica, and then they give targets. They said they want to secure. They want to increase the market share to 35 to 40% in the medium term. I don't know, maybe like 3
Do you know
years
how
or so.
ambitious that is, though? Like, you already control a
Mm,
third of the market. Let's just increase it to 40%.
it's
I
like
can't
a
even imagine how much that
30%
would be.
increase
Yeah.
to be the
Yeah.
40. Yeah, and
Yeah.
they gave revenue. Essentially, they said they sold more than 300 mil US worth of fuel in 2023, and netted over 10 mil US in profit. So they're giving you their profit revenues, profit margins. They gave you their June estimates or end June numbers. They said up to the end of June, revenues were 175 mil, and then they said that they're hoping to hit the 400 mil US revenue by the end of 2024. So I was actually even doing some, you know how I do with like some of my Excel stuff.
Yeah.
I was doing some numbers on that. So let's see. So first off, as I said, they're saying that they'd be willing to raise up to 80 mil US. Now all of those shares will be issued though, because the thing is that some of the shares, some of the existing shareholders are going to be selling.
Yeah, we
And
should
then
go
some
into
of the
that a
shares are
little
going to
bit.
be newly issued shares. So the newly issued shares would count as IPO, but the existing shares that will be sold will be like an offer for sale. So I'm hoping that my math is right. So essentially, the shareholders who wouldn't be selling, and I guess this is like if they're actually able to raise all of the money. I mean, it's a pretty big offer. I mean, once again, you have to wait till we see the prospectus and stuff. I was thinking that it is probably something that like a pension. You don't think like a pension or something would like to buy into something like this? Because I mean, yes, over time we're gonna gradually switch or reduce or gas usage as maybe people hope for like electric vehicles and stuff, but that's not really gonna happen very fast in Jamaica. So it's a
I think
business that I think
globally,
we're
we're
gonna.
still going to rely on fossil fuels for a very long time.
Yeah.
So,
Like our
yeah.
electricity costs have to come down a lot. So this is only if they were to sell all the shares or whatever. But yeah, they said the existing shareholders, if my math is right, the existing shareholders would own 68% of the company. Then the offer for sale, if that would be them selling 27.4% of the company. The IPO, they'd be issuing about 4.6 or I guess 5% of shares. So if you include the IPO shares and the offer for sale shares, my math is right, that's 32%. So they'd be valuing the whole company at about 40 billion Jamaican or 250 mil US. If my math is right. And I was trying to, I guess, do some, like earnings metrics, like price to earnings ratio and stuff like that. So based on their 2023 numbers, based on what the article says, I should say, they said, I think 300 mil US, and then they said 10 mil US profit, right? So that'll be 1.6 bill Jamaican. And I'm using the shares that I worked out. I guess these shares technically aren't issued yet, but I'm just working it out like, okay, if it were to list, this is like what it would be essentially buying into. At $1.60, on the 2023 earnings, you'd be buying at like 25 times for the PE. And based on what they said with the 6 months so far, which was up to June, they did 175 mil US revenue. And then I think, what did I do to get this? Oh yeah, I estimated the same, if they kept the same net profit margin, which was 3.3%, and say they were to continue at the same rate, or you annualize the 6 months for June to December 2024, they could be doing like 350 mil US revenue, which should be up from 2023. I remember 2023 was 300 mil. December 2024 could be 350. And then if it was at $1.60, you're buying at 48 times. But then if they hit their target of like the 400 mil US revenue, and then they keep the same profit margin, you'd be buying at like 19 times. So basically, like, I guess just around 20. And some people would say, oh, that's, I mean, I guess it's a main market company. The main market average right now is
based on my money, JA, which you guys should use the code Limitless if you guys want a good deal on a subscription for My Money JA and to beat your friends and be ahead of the curve with a lot of this information and so on. Main market average is what?
It's 19.3 times. So that's actually, about that's about the average of the market. So the numbers, I guess, essentially could kind of, is this right? Let me just double check. Yeah, $1.60.
Yeah, the numbers could line up.
Oh wait, hold on. Oh no, this number was wrong. I knew something was off. One sec. So guys, we can always make mistakes. I was like, what? That don't make sense. Yeah, I messed up the numbers there. So I apologize for that. So based on 2024, if they hit the 350 mil, if they annualize the 6 months at $1.60, they'll be coming at 21 times. And with the December 2020, if they hit their targets and they keep the same profit margin that they did 2023, I don't know if it would improve. They could come in at about 19 times. So, as I said, that's about the main market average or whatever. One of the things, though, I guess. So now, let's get into actual market dynamics for something like this, right? Because it's such a large offer, right? And with stocks, just like anything else, there's a balance between supply and demand, right? So if you list at $1.60, right? Most people over time they'd want it to go up in value or go up in price. And the only way that would happen is if after they raise their money, when it lists on the market, people continue to buy. Right? So
simple supply and demand.
Yeah, for something like this, if they were really to raise that amount of money, so we said offer for sale, or they're willing to offer up to basically 69 mil US, and then for the IPO they're willing to offer 11.5. So in total it's 80 mil US, as we said. Right? That's 8 billion shares. My thing is that if, depending on, I guess, how it's structured and the take up, like what if, for example, the basis of allotment comes out, which is like telling you, okay, this is how much we were willing to sell, and everybody got everything they wanted, or you only got like a small percentage. Like if you look at some of the IPOs that tended to have that pop, like was probably one of the more recent ones, or I said not recent, but one of the ones with a lot of pop was like Dollar. Remember, like when Dollar listed, it went from, I can show it, went from I think $1 to like $3, right? Yeah, it went from $1 listed at $1. You'd have bought in at $1, went up to $3, went up even higher than that, $3.50 at some points, right? And I guess my thinking, or I should go back to the basis of allotment had come out when after the IPO. They said, how much percent did you get? So everybody got up to 10,000 shares, and then you'd get 2.6% of what you applied. So it's like, if you're someone who put in a lot of money, like 100,000, most of your money, you barely got any of really what you asked for. So it's like, okay, it was showing that a lot of people wanted it, but most people didn't get what they wanted. So if they don't get what they want, and if they still want it, they're going to have to buy on the market. So my thing is, with an offer this size, like, is it gonna be? Yeah, I'm just worried about what's gonna happen
Like
if,
the subscription, like is it going to be
yeah, like what's the base?
heavily oversubscribed or not?
Yeah, because
What's
for something like that, if
yeah,
you're getting lots of people buying in, and then imagine it's like the inverse of something like a dollar or some of those IPOs where, okay, people get all of what they want, and so if they get all of what they want, they're not really going to be
who's gonna
necessarily
buy on the open
incentivized to buy on
market?
the market.
Mm-hmm.
So you may then see the price drop. So then that's like I'm like, should I maybe wait to buy in then? But I
Well,
guess that's the thing. Like you have to really wait till the prospectus
y-
comes out to see.
you do, but even when the prospectus comes out, you it's not always the best gauge of what's gonna happen on the open market. I think what they're
True.
doing though are they're making good steps. Like they said that they're already focusing on anchor
Mm-hmm.
investors, right? Those kind of people, which is a good strategy. You want a lot of those funds, those financial institutions.
Mm-hmm.
You want them to be buying into this to soak up a lot of these
Mm-hmm.
shares so that, retail, everybody else gets small. It's just a smaller amount for retail. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that I don't want all the units I will want if this comes good and I'm ready to buy,
Mm-hmm.
but it would be good to see that I don't get everything that I want, because that just means another rich man over there. So, like a Dr. Preston, don't get what he want, and he's super upset about that. And he's like, all right, well,
Mm-hmm.
gotta have to buy on the open market. And even the pension funds, I don't want them to get
Mm-hmm.
everything they want either. I want the pension funds to be buying on the open market
Mm-hmm.
as well. They have to be
Mm-hmm.
splashing millions and millions of dollars to get those
Mm-hmm.
shares. That's what we want as retail investors,
Mm-hmm.
unless you're not looking for capital gains and you're looking for dividends. But
Mm. I
I
even
don't.
did I don't know if you've seen on my screen, I did like a watch list of some
Oh
of
yeah.
the more recent main market IPOs. So it's like the
Mm-hmm.
Wisynco. We haven't really. I think the last main market one was probably TransJam or SRF. I guess SRF technically, but
Mm-hmm.
like TransJam, Wisynco, Cygnus Real Estate Finance, Select MD, Select F, QWI, MJE. If you look at, I guess, how some of these, I could probably check. Let me see Wisynco's, because I think this was before my time. What was their basis of allotment? Because Wisynco was like a similar, they raised a lot of money. TransJam, I guess, was kind of skewed because I think right when the shares were about to list, that's when like the first COVID cases and stuff started happening. So that kind of,
Mm-hmm.
changed up some people's stuff. But yeah, it's the
Also,
basis.
nobody knew TransJam was listing. The JSE
Mm.
didn't announce that. Oh, today is the day they're listing. They just kind of
Oh,
showed up. Yeah, or they didn't announce it beforehand at least. Like a
so
lot of people didn't know.
so see for Wisynco, so they said
How much did
they
they raise?
said
Like
so they said that 18.8 billion people applied,
no,
but
no,
let me see.
not people.
Yeah,
That's
I know.
that's money.
Sorry, 18.8. Yeah, sorry. Wisynco. Let me see. Wisynco. It's saying 6 billion. 6.1 billion.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, they're
So
raising
that would
about
be
6 billion.
half.
And then, yeah, let me see, 7. Yeah, Wisynco came out at $7.87. And this is saying 700 and
780 million shares.
so that
Interesting.
works. So yeah, like 6.2 billion, right? So it's
Mm-hmm.
less than WIP Energy says. Well, what the article says, WIP Energy is looking to raise, right? And I mean, Wisynco has been around for a lot longer too.
Mm-hmm.
It was more.
And more people know about Wisynco. How could
Yeah,
you not?
that's true too.
You know,
That's true. And then also look at the time. This was like, well, I guess this was,
still a good time in the market.
yeah. But so yeah, Wisynco wasn't raising as much money, And then based on what we're seeing with the basis of allotment, we're seeing so if you applied, you'd have got the first 25,000 units. And then it says if you applied for over 25,000 units, you'd have got 18%, or basically like 20% of what you would have applied for. So you basically didn't get all of what you wanted, because this is saying that $18.8 billion.
Oh.
What do you mean?
True. But when you look at it, 25,000 units at that $7 so on price, that's
still
a lot
a
of
good
money.
amount. Yeah.
That's not no dollar, because dollar you only got
what price was it?
10 grand.
7.
I don't know, 7.8?
787.
787.
So that would have been, you could have got 200,000 Jamaican in. But the thing is, look at how it traded. So like it did a little, like when it listed 2017, it did pop. Like it flew up to like, let me make this smaller. Yeah, they say it flew up to like $12, but then right after it went back down to like, it did still above IPO price. Yeah, but you see it kind of like, so I guess that's the thing. So, but you see, this is when people only got basically 200,000 in, and let's say only, they got 200,000 in and they got 20% of what they wanted. I remember this would be something that I think like a lot of pensions and institutional investors and stuff would have been buying heavily into, because like, hey, this is essentially one of the largest manufacturing distribution companies in Jamaica. It's been around for how many years? They have, like they're profitable, whatever. So I guess my thinking is that, okay, what is going to happen with this one? So is it that they're raising more money? And that's what I think. I guess that's what I'm kind of thinking. I'm like, if they don't really, if all of that supply isn't met with adequate demand, what you could have is, I remember something like, have you ever looked at SRF and their,
yes.
Let me see, they are, I guess,
even
an
like
example
a First Rock.
Yeah, or like SRF. Let me see. Wow, sums up with the chart here. They listed SRF's IPO price. I think they were raising a couple billion and so too. So see, this was 2021. Excuse me. Their IPO price was $19.30. Was this $19.30? Basically, kind of just under $20. And let me see, how much did they end up?
I don't think they've ever traded back at that since they've listed.
So how much did they?
Market doesn't really like real estate stocks.
They're trying to raise 3.9 billion. And they secured 3.2. But yeah, essentially. Oh no, that's $1 billion. But yeah, they were trying to raise a few $1 billion. But I think with the SRF, I don't think this is their basis of allotment. So their basis of allotment here. How much did people get? I feel like people got all that they wanted.
Everything. Yeah.
And there was, this.
I feel so too.
Link is dead. Oh yeah, it is dead. Oh. But yeah, essentially, they didn't. When there was more supply than there was demand. And if you look at, I guess, what happened after it hit that market, no one else wanted. The people who wanted to buy got all they wanted. And yeah, it just kept trading down. Today it's at $10. We basically said it listed at about $20, so it's down like 50%. So I guess that's what I'm trying to think of. So there could be other things, because as I said, if they drop some nice reports, I don't know like what kind of dividends they're trying to pay out. There could be like a lot of news around, I don't know, their plans of expansion.
Initially in this article, what does it tell you about their their like use of proceeds, even though this isn't the official prospectus, so we don't know the official use of proceeds. But in the article, it kind of tells you what they plan to do with the money. And I think they said a part of it is, I mean, we already know that it's to selling shareholders. So whoever is selling, will just be buying the shares from them. So the money won't actually necessarily, most of the money won't actually necessarily go to the company. But then some of the money that's going to the company, which is specifically, and they tell us, which is why I'm like, yo, if this is anything like what the prospectus is, this is a lot of detail that they've given us. They said specifically US 11 point.
It's like someone read the prospectus and just, well, I'm not saying I did that. I'm just giving it. It's
yeah. And it says
source.
US 11.5 mil will be allocated to provide working capital for WIP Energy and to pay expenses related to the offer. So I mean, I don't know if that's,
and you know, it's funny. You see this? They say WIP Energy is gearing up for an IPO on the Jamaica Stock Exchange main market, with a focus on securing anchor investors to purchase at least a 3% stake, valued at approximately 2.4 billion. The people told Jamaica Observer. Who are the people? We the people. Yo, you know what's funny? Like, did you see? There was this article. This is just a random. And it's like in the article, they're quoting what the guy, it's like the person that they're getting information from is saying, please don't put this in the article. And then the person quotes that in the, I sent it in the, I'm trying to remember.
Which article is that? That was so funny. I remember
I should
seeing
try to find it. Hold on.
This is like, don't quote this or don't put this in
quote
there.
this, like, and then he puts it, the person puts it in. I was dying.
Yeah, that's so funny.
I was dying.
Are you allowed to do that without somebody's consent? I don't know.
I don't know. I mean,
journalism.
I don't know.
I don't know, man. But it's crazy because for this article, though, it's just like, is that enough to get a lot of interest in this company? Because you're buying from the selling shareholders, and then you're just giving them money for working capital. It depends on everything else that's laid out in the prospectus, obviously. But initially, my thoughts are, I don't know if that's enough, or if that's appealing enough to everybody else to be like, yeah, we should put our money in this. Because I don't know if you've ever seen, I should actually send you this article, because I was doing a much deeper dive into this company, right? And there's an article, I actually can't find it. It's about them being linked to a refinery. So WIP Limited being actually linked to a refinery in St. Croix. And they were actually, some people were basically saying they bought a refinery, an oil refinery in St. Croix, right? Them, and it's a consortium that they were saying with JMB, Barita, and Signa. So from way back then, they were linked. This was 2022, September 4, 2022. I don't know if you can find it and pull it up, Preston. But I'll just talk in the meantime. But basically, it was.
Wait. This is what
I'm gonna. Yeah, I'm gonna have to find it for you. But there was a lot of back and forth in the art. The article is actually hilarious. But the long and short of the article was that they were actually supposed to buy an oil refinery, or they wanted to. There was a lot of interest in WIP Energy or WIP Limited at the time.
I think.
Yeah, buying. It's called Lime Tree Bay Refinery Operations. That's in St. Croix, right? And it's a super complicated relationship with that refinery, because they actually wanted to acquire the refinery, and they actually started participating in that bidding process, and there was a bankruptcy auction from them, and the situation just kept going. So I remember they attempted to acquire Lime Tree Bay Refinery for about 62 mil US, but there are a bunch of challenges with like regulatory scrutiny and all of that kind of stuff. And it was made in collaboration with, Port Hamilton Refining and Transportation and another company. And then it's like people were claiming that they actually owned it and nobody knew about it. And then they had to clarify that, no, we're not a stakeholder in this refinery. And, they wanted to, they were a part of the early bidding process, but then they didn't continue because of legal factors and constraints and a bunch of stuff. So I don't think anyone owns Lime Tree Bay Refinery. Um, and there could be a lot of benefits from the operations. I think the CEO himself actually stated that there could be a lot of indirect benefits. I think they could possibly get lower product costs. Because if you own the refinery, right, you don't need to be importing. Think of it as Jamaica exporting bauxite and having to import aluminum, right? If you own the thing that gave you something closer to the final product, you would therefore earn a lot more because you don't have to be paying this other entity and feeding into their profits and so on. It's your company. So if you owned an oil refinery, it would lower a lot of your costs, right? But I know that the Lime Tree Bay Refinery, they had a bunch of, I think the main issues were mostly environmental to start back operations. So that affected their reopening. But I just thought, that would have at least been mentioned in something like this. Because imagine now in use of proceeds, you see them actually wanting to acquire this refinery, right? And some parts of the proceeds would be used to acquire this Lime Tree Bay Refinery in St. Croix. I'm just like, that could imagine now
Well, how
that
much did you say the refinery costed?
I don't know. I remember they attempted to, was it 62 million? I think it was about 62 million.
Because the IPO shares, if my math is right, it's about 11.5 billion. So, guess I was
not even close, but it was a consortium, And I said this article they were looking for 200 million US. So I really don't know the exact cost. I could do some more, like, deeper diving, but at the time there was a bankruptcy auction, and
but the thing is, my guess is that
allegations
this would
stated it
be
was 62 mil.
This would be more West Indies Petroleum Limited, the parent company of WIP
Yeah,
Energy, probably buying that though.
true.
Oh, but you're saying, hold on. But then I guess it would be
because who would be selling the shares? Would it be? We're assuming the parent company would be selling the shares in the IPO, so they would be getting the money to
wait, the
therefore.
what?
So if we're assuming, this is just hypothetical, of course, but who would be selling the shares of WIP Energy? The parent company, we're assuming, would sell a piece, right? So if the parent company sells a piece, they're the ones getting cash.
Oh.
So that could be used to fund the acquisition of this refinery from the parent company. But imagine now you get a lot of this fuel cheaper. It could trickle down to the WIP Energy. It just would have been, I don't know, it would have been nicer to see. That's all. If that's what they were using the money for.
Did the article say who? Is it like WIP Energy is completely owned by?
No, I didn't
West
say.
Indies Petroleum.
That's why I said we're just assuming, because it didn't really say.
Could have did say they spun it up, but see, that's once again why the prospectus would have to tell you, okay, how much of the company,
who owns what?
Because what could happen is WIP Energy, West Indies Petroleum Limited, could own part of it, and then there could be like some other shareholders who own the rest, and then it could be those shareholders selling. Versus if it's West Indies Petroleum, owning all of it, when it decides to sell the company and its shareholders decide to sell them. Interesting. Yeah, so yeah,
Prospectus is going to be very interesting. It's going to be very interesting. Because I would want them to even tell me who are the other players in the market. What they like? What's
they
that
said
market
they
share
do 30%.
like?
They do 30% of retail gas. I was wondering who are the other bigger gas stations would be like the Total Energies, the Rubis, Texaco. I'm wondering if does WIP Energy supply some of their needs, or is it like those bigger gas stations get from I don't know who else. I don't know. Yeah, so I guess
Did we
they'll
speak
break
about the
down.
gas stations though? The thrifty stations?
Yeah, I think I touched on it that they sell. Well, can like Thrifty is the WIP Energy's brand of gas stations, and then they can partner with say you're someone and you're like, yo, I want to set up a gas station. Instead of you know you starting up a gas station from scratch with like a brand, you can say, hey, can I use your name, Thrifty? Can you supply me with gas? And then I will put in some of my money. I will run the gas station, but I get to use your brand name. So it's a dealer owned, dealer operated.
Yeah, there was another article that spoke a lot more on that. That was the February 2024 one, where it said WIP L gunning for 35% of domestic petroleum market.
Yeah, they said 14 thrifty gas stations.
Yeah, they literally listed the amount of gas station, 14.
They bought it from their chairman.
Interesting. Which I thought, Gordon Shirley. Yeah. He should also come on the podcast. Either him or Mr. Chambers. Any one of you guys, if you're ready to list, we'd love to have you on the podcast, or you can just sit down and talk about the company. We would love that. And I'm pretty sure, guys, if you guys want to hear from them, leave a comment. Let them know how much we actually want them on the show. But part of that article also said, he says the Dodo, which is the dealer-owned, dealer-operated model, has proven to be the most attractive. And well, when you look at a company like Fesco, right, you can actually see the difference between how much a Coco impacts profits and how much a Dodo impacts profits.
Coco is company owned, company operated.
Coco is company owned, company operated. So if the company, let's say it's West Indies Petroleum, WIP Energy, actually owned and operated these gas stations, then it stands that they have more to gain, especially in terms of like profits. Whereas if somebody else owned it and somebody else operated it, all they're receiving is a smaller percentage. I think of it like franchising. You know how Hilton and all those other hotels, they actually do franchising. So they don't necessarily own all these hotels around the world, but they just earn a percentage. I think it's like maybe like 5% off top line or so on. They'll earn a percentage. But imagine if you're imagine if you're very profitable, right? You stand to gain a lot more. So I'm not sure.
But then there's that pro and con though, because with the dealer owned, dealer operated, sometimes you can kind of expand faster because there could be someone who, I think RPL had like an example where there was a gas station that was like an existing gas station. I don't know how long it had been there, but say it had been there years, and it was a gas station, good location, and people loved it. They were already like, it was their gas station that they go to. And say it was named gas station, I don't know, A or whatever. And then you could say, hey, why don't you change it to Thrifty? We'll supply you. And bam, that just snaps. Like that's just a 1 day thing, or not a 1 day, but you could just take down the sign, put up Thrifty, and bam, they are now helping to earn you money from that. So it's like you can, I think you can expand a lot faster versus you having to like, if it's a completely new gas station, think about like you'd have to like build up the fuel storage and get, permits, and there's a lot of process that goes into that. So there's the pros and cons of that. So like the dealer owned, dealer operated, as you said, and think of it of the flip side, the dealer owned, dealer operated, if it's not doing well, you would have put in lots of money to expand that gas station, and then you could be making losses, and that's hitting your books. Versus with the that was Coco, but with the dealer owned, dealer operated, all they have to do is sell the gas, and they in this case with West Indies Energy, and once they sell gas for more than they're buying it for, they'll make a profit. So that business could be that gas station could be running, and maybe depending on what's going on with the business, business will have its ups and downs. They could be hitting some tough issues, but once again, they're just buying West Indies WIP Energy's gas, and WIP Energy's doesn't have to deal with some of that headache, and they're still making money. So yeah, it's pros and cons really.
Yeah, you're right. There are pros and cons to it. Because when they said this has been proven to be most attractive, for who, right, and how? Because it could be attractive to them, but that doesn't mean that cocoa couldn't be more attractive. But it depends. You're right. There are pros and cons of both models. But it's just something I noticed, especially when analyzing Fesco, because there's certain, Beechwood, Ferry, some of them, those are not dealer-owned, dealer-operated, right? So you could see when those actually started hitting the books, what that did in terms of profitability for the entire company. So it's just something to look out for when, the prospectus comes out, when it lists, when you start seeing the financials and so on. But yeah, this is a huge company. I've been looking forward to a main market IPO. I kind of worry about the effect. You remember when TransJam was listing? This was before COVID actually happened, but it was, the prospectus came out, all of those things, and there was a huge sell-off. Yes, some people could think, but there's some people could attribute it to COVID, but that was maybe like January, maybe February, before we had our first case. I think it was in January, but there's a part of me, and there's always going to be some level of selling pressure. Will it be soaked up by demand? Maybe, but there's always going to be a level of selling pressure when you have such a large company coming to market, and if it is done right and so on, you might find some people selling their actual stocks to go into this opportunity if it does come right. And
so you get some discounts.
Could get a lot of discounts because there are a lot of companies on our stocks to watch episode that we spoke about. When if they hit a low, I'm definitely jumping right in. So yeah, I mean, guys, check out our stocks to watch episode. We did one with Chinese. It was so good, so good. We actually recorded that for a very long time, and then after we were chatting for a very long time too. That was a great episode. So you guys can check that out. But you can notice that kind of trend, especially around the time TransJam was listing. You can look at that and a bunch of other stocks just to compare and see it. Some stocks did take a little dip. It would make sense. Some people will sell some of their stocks, rebalance their portfolio a bit to get into an opportunity like this. So just something to look out for. Yeah. But can't wait for that prospectus. Actually, can't wait for that prospectus to come out. Have not seen a main market listing in, is it 5 years? Jeez, like one as big as TransJam. Yeah, it's been 5 years. Yeah. Anything else you want to leave with the people and Preston?
No. Guess
My
we'll
main
just
thing is
look out.
always wait for the prospectus. Don't give up sure for unsure. This is us just chatting about the company before we even look at the prospectus. But this isn't influencing our investment decisions, right? Don't give up sure for unsure. That's my biggest thing, because we've been meds in this company from last year, and they finally look like, yes, they may be listing, but some people might be waiting, holding cash, waiting on an IPO that could just not come on your timeline. So always look to the prospectus to make an investment decision for any additional public offer or IPO, initial public offer. And yeah, stay investing smart, guys. That is it. So you guys, if you like this episode, drop a like, subscribe, tell us if it's a company you're looking forward to. We'd appreciate to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you again. Limitless out.
Peace.